but here are the top 10 running backs in the NFL. Before we get into it, let's talk about some honorable mentions, though. I think Chase Brown is a guy that does not get talked about enough. 17th in scrimmage yards 2 years ago, 11th last year. He's top 10 in total scrimmage yards over the last 2 seasons, and he barely had a healthy Joe Burrow. Nasty catching passes out of the backfield. Really good explosive. He ran a 4.3. He has home run hitting ability. I love me some Chase Brown. And then Kyren Williams stays underrated. I think people pawn off Kyren Williams to like, oh, he's a product of the scheme. He's a product of the McVay offense, which it definitely benefits him being in an offense like that. But he also top 6 in missed tackles forced last season, top 10 in yards after contact, 8th in scrimmage yards since he's entered the league. Kyren Williams has been unbelievably productive. So those are 2 guys that I think are honorable mentions. And Josh Jacobs also isn't on the list. He's an honorable mention for sure. He's probably 11. He's probably the first name off the list. And then Chase Brown, Kyren Williams right there, not including some of the young guys that I think are next up, like your Omarion Hamptons, your Travion Hendersons, your Jeremiah Loves. I like I like Jonah Coleman in Denver out of TCU. I like Emmett Johnson. He ended up in KC behind Kenneth Walker out of Nebraska. Those are some guys to keep an eye on, especially Omarion and Travion. I think it's too early to rank them here yet when you have so many established guys. Same thing with Ashton Genty. He's not on this list, but he was also among the league leaders in missed tackles forced as well. So I think all of these guys are coming up, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're on this list next year if they have really good breakout seasons, but it's just they haven't done enough yet to warrant them being on this list. Number 10, Kenneth Walker. Water bottle's empty. Let me get a water break here before I go on this Kenneth Walker rant. All right, I think Kenneth Walker on this Kansas City Chiefs offense is going to be lethal. Lethal. He had one of the highest missed tackle rates in the history of the NFL. He had the highest missed tackle rate out of a running back that charted more than 150 carries in a season since 2015. He averaged 100 rushing yards per game in the playoffs. Super Bowl MVP. K9 is that guy on a full workload, no longer in Zach Charbonnet jail. Look out in this Andy Reid offense. Red zone production going to be up. I think his work as a pass catcher is going to be up. I love Kenneth Walker. He's number 10. He's just the eye test too. Really pure, really great ball carrier vision, really good explosiveness, can run through your face and can juke you out of your shoes. He is a dog, top 3 in 20-plus yard carries. He is a beast, Kenneth Walker at 10. Breece Hall at number 9. And I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, of course, the Jets fan has Breece Hall above Kenneth Walker. But hear me out for a second here, chat. I value guys that can catch passes out of the backfield. And Breece Hall is definitely not as good of a runner, not as good in open space in terms of making guys miss as Kenneth Walker is, but he is a way better pass catcher than Kenneth Walker is. He needs to be in a good offense, man. Put Breece in a good offense, and I think he can have elite production. I'm talking 1,700, 1,800 scrimmage yards. He is 4th in the NFL in receiving yards since entering the league amongst running backs and 6th in receptions. Had more scrimmage yards last season than Saquon Barkley and Kenneth Walker. Both of those guys are obviously on this list. And Breece was literally the whole entire Jets offense, led by Brady fucking Cook, because Garrett only played like 7 games last year. Top 10 in scrimmage yards at the RB position over the last 3 seasons, despite being in possibly the worst situation for a running back to produce. Bad offensive line play. The offensive line was average last year, and it should be good this year because it's young and ascending, but it has not been a good offensive line. The quarterbacks that have quarterbacked the Jets offense that Breece Hall plays in have been a carousel of guys. Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson, Mike White, Joe Flacco, the list goes on. Tim Boyle, the list goes on. Tyrod Taylor, Brady Cook, Chris Streveler. It's just been a joke. It's been a revolving door at quarterback, and the offense has had no stability. He's on his 4th play caller now in 4 years. That's 4th or 3rd? I think 3rd. 3rd play caller now. No, because it was LaFleur, and then it was LaFleur, and then I'm forgetting the guy's name. He sucked. He was and it was LaFleur, Hackett. Who was it last year? The guy that came over from Detroit that's not there anymore, whose name I'm forgetting, that I was really high on, but his name I'm forgetting, and now Frank Reich. So he's on his 4th play caller in 4 seasons, no continuity in the offense, and he's still been able to produce at a really, really high level. 4th in receiving yards amongst the RB position since entering the league. Top 10 in scrimmage yards since 2023. he is a baller. In a good offense, he can put up elite numbers. And you can interchange K9 and Breece. I just think the gap between K9 and Breece as a runner is not as big as the gap between Breece and K9 in terms of catching passes and his productivity as a pass catcher in Breece Hall. Number 8 is James Cook, the rushing leader last year, 3-time Pro Bowler, 4th in yards after contact, top 10 in broken tackles, runs of 20-plus yards, top 3 in 30-plus yard runs, and 2nd in the NFL in runs of 10-plus yards or more. Absolute home run hitter, elusive as hell, fantastic vision. He had a run against the Jets week 2 last year that just snatched my soul out of my body. It was disgusting. Top 5 in rushing touchdowns among running backs, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, back-to-back double touchdown seasons. That does help that he's next to Josh Allen, but in James Cook's 3 years in the NFL, or 4 years in the NFL, he's averaging 5.1 yards per carry across his career. He's incredibly hard to tackle, underrated in open space, really good vision, hard to bring down. Not the greatest as a pass catcher, although early on in his career, he was utilized more as a pass catcher. Really, they've just been get the ball and get the fuck out of the way. He is a dog. He has arrived. He is a premier back in the NFL. You can put him higher than this, but I just think the veteran, proven guys that have been doing it for longer. Besides, there's one guy on here that I think I might have egregiously high, but I don't care. Until he keeps doing, he needs to do another season like this. He needs to improve as a pass catcher, and we can really see him in these some top 5 conversations. Saquon Barkley, I have at number 7. You could throw these guys in any order, and I wouldn't be that mad at you. It's a really subjective position. Barkley could be as high as number 3, and again, I would not be mad at you. But his efficiency last year just plummeted, man. It was awful. He was 16th in yards after contact amongst running backs that had 200-plus yard carries. He only had 4 carries of 20-plus yards or more, and he averaged 2 whole less yards per carry than he did in 2024. He genuinely was not a top 10 running back in the NFL last year, but in 2024, he had the most rushing yards in a season in NFL history, including the playoffs. He had the most runs where he eclipsed 20 miles per hour in NFL history since they started tracking 20 miles per hour. But he also didn't have much receiving upside recently. He was 15th in scrimmage yards. Breece Hall, Chase Brown, Kyren Williams all had more. But again, the productivity in 2024 was just too much to just completely neglect Saquon this year. I still believe in him. The offensive line got worse. Landon Dickerson was banged up all year. Cam Jurgens robbed the Philadelphia Eagles blind. No Jason Kelce, or they didn't have Jason Kelce the year he went off. But either way, Lane Johnson was banged up. It's just their offensive line was not as good as it has been, and that was evident. Plus, the whole offense in Philadelphia was garbage with Kevin Patullo. So I am punishing Saquon a little bit for the lack of efficiency. When the ball was in his hands, he still had a really high clip in terms of broken tackles. He had the same amount of broken tackles as Jahmyr Gibbs. So it's not like he lost his elusiveness, but he wasn't hitting as many home runs as he was. But the Eagles offense in general was just really predictable. And not to say they weren't getting much push in the run game the way they were a couple of years ago. So I still think Saquon is great. I think Saquon could be the number 1 RB in the NFL next year. But it's just the lack of production, the lack of explosiveness. I'm gonna punish him a little bit for it. And there was just other guys that were way more explosive. And honestly, there's a guy on here I can't wait to talk about. But let's just move on. CMC is a guy as well that I think is getting a little bit overrated. I think he's a little bit washed allegations. I might start throwing him around for Christian McCaffrey. Oh, but he was 2nd in the NFL in scrimmage yards. Oh, he led the Niners in receiving. I understand all that, but you gotta understand CMC's production was more because of the volume he was getting in this Shanahan offense because everybody was on IR more than it was CMC being incredibly, incredibly efficient. He's simply not as explosive as he used to be. Only 5 carries of 20-plus yards or more last season, and he was still able to finish with 2,000 scrimmage yards because of his nuance as a route runner out of the backfield, because of the savant Kyle Shanahan is in getting Christian McCaffrey in one-on-one scenarios out of the backfield with running backs, with slower safety, or with slot corners, with safeties, and CMC's ability to win those matchups. But again, he led the NFL in total opportunities. That's targets plus carries with 440. And you mean to tell me, if you put a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, or Saquon in a Kyle Shanahan system and gave him 440 total opportunities, they wouldn't outproduce Christian McCaffrey. I think they would. I think they would set records. I think guys like Breece Hall, Chase Brown, Kyren Williams, Kenneth Walker in this situation in the Kyle Shanahan gap zone run scheme offense that we've seen Matt Breida run for 1,000 yards, Raheem Mostert run for 1,000 yards, not to mention a guy like Breece Hall or Chase Brown who are really good pass catchers as well. I think they could produce. I think they might have been able to produce more than CMC did last year if they got the opportunities because they're more efficient with the ball in their hands than McCaffrey was. And I'm not trying to rip on McCaffrey. He's still elite. Like his use as a receiver is going to elongate his shelf life in this league for a really, really long time because even when he does, the wheels do start to fall off. He's just so technically sound in his ability to get open, running routes out of the backfield. It's next level. And that's why he's still this high on the list, but he was not a good running back last year. He was not a good running back. He was a good wide receiver. He was not a good running back. And I'm not saying it's not in there anymore, but only 5 carries of 20 plus yards or more when he was second in the NFL in total carries. The explosiveness is just not what it used to be from CMC, but the production is still elite because of the Kyle Shanahan system, because of his ability as a pass catcher. And again, his production was more predicated on volume, not efficiency. And I have Jonathan Taylor in the top 5, CMC not in the top 5 because of how efficient Jonathan Taylor was. But the last 7 games of the year, Jonathan Taylor kind of tailed off a little bit. Only 3 touchdowns and didn't break 100 yards a single time, averaged less than 4 yards a carry. But despite all that, he still led all running backs in yards after contact. Despite the last 7 games of the season, he didn't break 100 yards a single time. He still led all running backs in yards after contact. That is just ridiculous. He was insane. 5.2 yards per carry on the season. I have Derrick Henry at 4 simply because Derrick Henry's resume and his recent success is better, and he was dominant this year. Second leading rusher, 5th season with 1,500 yards, 2,000 scrimmage yards a season ago, and he averaged 5.2 yards per carry this year. Led the NFL in 20-plus yard runs, 30-plus yard runs, tied for second in 40-plus yard runs, second in yards after contact, and was second amongst running backs in rushing touchdowns. That was Derrick Henry last year at the age of 32, ladies and gentlemen. That is ridiculous. That is fucking ridiculous. And I test this just Derrick Henry's just so aesthetically pleasing to watch run the fucking football. That's gonna be a sad day when the wheels finally do fall off of Derrick Henry, probably in 2045 at this point. But I think he's a better running back than Jonathan Taylor. I do, I really do. And he's running behind a way worse offensive line. Not to pull that card out, but I will pull that card out. I think you're splitting hairs between Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. I think Derrick Henry was a little bit more explosive, although Jonathan Taylor did average more yards after contact, or he had more yards after contact. It wasn't more yards after contact per carry because Jonathan Taylor led the NFL in carries, but yet Derrick Henry still had more rushing yards than Jonathan Taylor did. So you're really splitting hairs between the two. I lead the guy that had 2,000 scrimmage yards the season prior and followed up with 1,500 yards rushing, and it was second in rushing back-to-back seasons. I lean Derrick Henry. He is unbelievable. Number 3, this could cause some stirrup here. This could cause some stirrup, but I need you guys to hear me out. Achane is a top 3 running back in the NFL. And I'm tired of pretending that he's not just because he plays for the Miami Dolphins. That guy averaged 5.7 yards after contact. 5.7. He led all running backs in yards after contact. Oh, wait, no, I messed it up. Sorry, forgive me. He led all running backs in yards per carry that had at least 100 carries with 5.7 yards per carry. That's Achane for you. Achane is a top 3 running back in the NFL. He just plays in Miami. He isn't a household name like Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor, but he is a top 3 running back in the NFL. 5.7 yards per carry. That led all running backs that had at least 100 carries. He was first in 10-plus yard carries, second in carries of 20 yards or more, second in carries of 30 yards or more, third in yards after contact, 6th in broken tackles, 4th among RBs in receiving yards as well. One of the most explosive weapons in the NFL. One cut and he is gone. Elite vision, elite pass catching ability. Good luck tackling this guy in open space. He is nasty. Achane, if you put him on a competent offense, if you swap Achane and Christian McCaffrey and you gave Achane 440 total opportunities, which was what Christian McCaffrey had when you add his targets and his carries together, Achane might have 2,500, close to 3,000 yards from scrimmage. in a Kyle Shanahan offense with that type of burst, with that type of athleticism, with that type of pass catching ability. Achane is a top 3 running back in the NFL. He is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Top 5 in rushing yards, top 6 in scrimmage yards on the Miami fucking Dolphins. Achane's a dog. That's one of the hottest takes I've had in a while, but I will stand on that. Jahmyr Gibbs at number 2, Bijan at number 1, pretty self-explanatory. Gibbs has just been more available than CMC. At the time I was doing this, I get my notes. I have more available than CMC. I was gonna have CMC at 3, but the more I looked into the numbers, it was like, oh, I was prisoner of the box score. Just watching CMC have, I was prisoner of the fantasy football land because CMC. If we're talking fantasy, CMC is probably RB2, RB3 going into next season, right? Because of the volume. But he's not a better player, not a better running back at this point in his career than Jahmyr Gibbs. But in my mind, I was going to have CMC3, Gibbs 2. So while I was crafting my Gibbs notes, I was crafting my argument as to why Gibbs is better than CMC. But either way, 5 yards a carry, nasty. McCaffrey, here's a crazy stat for you guys for your Gibbs versus McCaffrey, if that's a debate that somebody's having somewhere. McCaffrey had 5 runs of more than 20 plus yards. Gibbs had Gibbs had more carries of 30 plus yards than McCaffrey did of 20 plus yards. Not insane. Gibbs is also third amongst running backs in receiving, simply more explosive, more elusive, less tread on the tires. Going to be interesting to see how he does this year without David Montgomery coming in and the workload. I'm sure he'll be fine. It will be interesting to see. Bijan, best running back in the world, forced 11 missed tackles in one fucking game. Hardest tackle in the NFL. Elite burst, weapon out of the backfield, 79 catches for 820 yards, led the NFL in scrimmage yards, highest missed tackle rate, highest missed tackle force. Eye test, analytics, box score, everything you need. Bijan Robinson's the best running back in the NFL. Hit that subscribe button. I love you guys. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fire Sports Takes podcast, man. If you guys are listening every day, man, I love you guys.